Are you still effing around with your fonts and wondering why clients aren't hiring you? It's because your brand is not your colors or your logo. It is the space you occupy in someone's brain that reminds them about what you do. It's what they say about you when you're not in the room. So, today we are going to talk about how you can create a brand that positions you as the go to problem solver. So, when people have a problem and they think, who are you going to call? The answer is you. I am Laura Zavelson, and this is the Gen Expert Show, where we talk about how you can launch and grow your business as a coach or consultant, be intentional about the trade offs between money and flexibility, and build a success plan so you never, ever have to be out there looking for a job again, unless you really want to. So, the second company I ever built was a brand strategy agency. I grew it to seven figures. And I started it with a business partner. She was pictures, I was words. And over the years of working with clients, we discovered that one of the first things we needed to do to make sure that our clients got results from working with us was spend some time educating them on what a brand is and what it isn't, because there's a lot of confusion out there. So the term brand gets used simultaneously with the term logo a lot, but they are not the same. So your logo and your fonts and your colors, those are your visual identity. But your brand, that's how people perceive you. It's how they remember you, how they know who to refer you to. It's how you get hired. So here's the best way I can explain this. Here are three sneaker brands. And when I show them to you, I don't need to tell you who they're for. You already know. And if you fall into one of their target markets, you probably already own a pair, right? You know who wears Nikes versus Converse versus Allbirds. Now, one person might actually own one of each of these, but they use them to solve different problems. Harvard professor Clayton Christensen would say that they hire them for different jobs to be done. So maybe the Nikes for running and the Converse for going to music festivals and the Allbirds for traveling. So, how do these brands do it? How do they end up owning that real estate in somebody's mind? Well, they do it by being different, not just a little different, but really different. The way they look, the way they message, the way they package, even their distribution channels. So, look, this is why I don't recommend that you go out and spend a bunch of money with someone who's going to give you a look and feel. That is a waste of money until you figure out what makes you different for your specific audience in your specific space. So, why is different such a big deal? Well, for most of us, your brain is always on filter mode. We just have a lot of incoming, right? And so, what does it filter for? What does it notice? Well, it notices what's different. And so, one of the OGs of brand strategies, Seth Godin, explains it this way in his classic book, Purple Cow. He says, if you go for a drive in the country and you see some cows on the side of the road, somebody in the car is probably going to say, cows. And as you drive along, you're going to see more cows. And so eventually somebody's going to stop saying cows because you get used to seeing them, right? It's not different. So you keep driving along, and let's all of a sudden say you see a purple cow. Oh my God, you guys are going to stop, pull over. Everybody's going to be taking selfies with the purple cow. Why? Because it's different. It's remarkable. It's worth talking about and sharing with your friends. That's why different is so important. Because think about it, if you can create that for yourself, for your brand, for your company, and people start talking about you and sharing you with their friends, that's how you get to be successful. Or, as another OG marketing guy used to say, Marty Newmeyer, when everybody else zigs, you zag. Okay, so enough of the why. Let's get into the how. How do you stake a claim in somebody's brain space as a coach or a consultant by being different? So I think that there's three steps to this. The first one is that you need to get really clear on who your tribe is, right? So mine is Gen X women, deeply skilled, love what they do, but they feel like there's no place for them working for somebody else, either because of ageism or sexism, the lack of flexibility. Maybe they just want to play bigger and have more impact. And even though they have amazing skills, what they don't have is a skill set around growing a business, right? So that's how I define my tribe. Who's yours? Okay, so the second piece is you really got to fixate on what problem you solve for your tribe. So, are you going to solve the running shoe problem? Are you going to solve the music festival shoe problem? Or are you going to solve the traveling shoe problem? Because when the person has that problem, you want to be occupying that space in their brain at time zero when they very first think, I have a problem and I could use some help solving this. So you want to be like Ghostbusters, right? Who are you going to call? You want that to be you. So once you know the who and the what, now we layer in the different. And in order to do that, you are going to have to look around and see what everybody else is doing, and then you're going to go a different way. So one of my favorite examples of this is Zappos, like before they were acquired by Amazon. So look at all the ways they made themselves different. Okay, first of all, they were online only. Okay, this is the very beginning of Zappos, right? Online only. It meant all of a sudden you had all the sizes and colors of shoes in stock, which no shoe store could ever do. Right. Then they offered you to get rid of like the fear around buying online and not having the shoe fit. They offered free returns. Right. They had amazing customer service. Like the original Zappos was legendary for that. So if you look at all the ways they differentiated, right? They differentiated on the shopping experience, on delivery system, on the guarantees, on the customer service, on their pricing structure, right? So there's actually tons of ways you can do it, even as a coach or consultant, right? You don't have to be packaged goods to make this work for you. So like if everyone else is online, you could go IRL in real life. If everyone else sells via discovery call, you sell with self-checkout. If everyone else's information is an ebook, maybe you go retro and you send a hard copy to their house. If everyone else's program answers live questions every other week, you could answer questions all the time. You know, that's what I do in my program, by the way. I noticed that all the other programs were only answering questions like once a week or once every 2 weeks on these big group coaching calls. Not everybody's questions were getting answered. So I said, what would it take to fix that? And I have a platform where you can ask me questions 24/7 and I get back to you in 24 hours. So there's a lot of ways to be different. You have to figure out what your thing is. Otherwise, you're just going to get lumped in with everybody else. So, how do we make this practical and actionable? How do we make this something that you can put into practice right now? So this is something that we work on in my program. I think one of the most powerful ways for you to build your personal brand, for you to get to the point where you're occupying that space in somebody's brain, and for you to stand out as different is to use a thought leadership content strategy. And don't freak out because you don't need to be like a world renowned expert to actually take a position of authority and be a thought leader in your space. What you do need is a signature framework or approach that you can talk about. And that's why it's so important that you know what problem you solve, right? And you need some stories that you can tell how you used your approach to either solve your own problem or a client's problem. And then we need to put that out there consistently on a blog, on a podcast, in a newsletter, on YouTube, just some vehicle for telling your stories. And the thing about using your framework and your experience is that nobody can duplicate that, right? ChatGPT cannot come up with your experiences. So if you use this approach, you will be automatically authentic, automatically different, and people will remember that. So I hope at this point you've got a better idea about what a brand is, the importance of being remarkably different, and that thought leadership is a great way to make that happen. But now you're wondering, what do I need to say to be a thought leader? What kind of content will make this work? I got you covered. So if you go to the description, you're going to find a link to my free thought leadership content generator. It's 52 content prompts that are based on helping your clients shift their beliefs and understand what you do and how you think so they'll be ready to buy from you. So all you have to do is download it and start creating consistent content. And if you use one a week, well, you got a year's worth of content planned out. So how does that sound? Okay, it is recap time. So look, here's the big ideas that we talked about in today's video. First, your brand is not your logo. It is the space in a person's brain that you occupy when they think about you. Second, in order to break through the noise, you need to be different. Not a little bit different, really different, remarkably different, okay? And the best way that I know of that gets you there authentically is to use thought leadership, which naturally lends itself to helping people know, like, and trust you. And if you can do that, that answer to who you're going to call is going to be you. So if this video was helpful for you, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. Don't forget to download those thought leadership prompts. And that's it. It is Miller time, or in my case, Chardonnay time. I'll see you next week.